there have been a ton in the media saying that this is the last dance. And I don't really love that phrase. I don't think it's actually super representative of the situation that the 49ers are in, namely because of the age of their starting quarterback. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. It's a reality, and you've probably heard it, and it might make some of you feel a little uncomfortable. Well, great news for you, because I have just the news for you today. If you're new here, I'm Nate, and we are talking the San Francisco 49ers, and it really does help me out if you hit that subscribe button. Well, I wish I could tell you that we signed up Brandon Ayuk and got a new contract done with CMC and agreed to terms with Debo and picked up a replacement left tackle. And I wish I could say that we have the next 5 years totally solid, the whole team's perfect. But I can't say that. And neither can any other team surrounding a quarterback in a similar situation to us, thinking Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Steve Young, Joe Montana, at any quarterback that's gone through more than one contract at the same team. None of them had that luxury. And so neither will we, and that's part of the gig. Maybe we'll get lucky and we'll get to keep some of the weapons and some of the targets, but we have to wake up to the reality that, the team is going to change, and that's part of the gig. But I've got great news for you. Well, everybody wants to say Brock Purdy is only good because of his great targets. One of Purdy's former coaches had something different to say. Alex Golesh has had a ton of offensive gigs in college football. He's been everything from the head coach, which he currently is over at USF, to offensive coordinator, tight ends coach, recruiting coordinator. He's had all sorts of jobs, mostly on the offensive side of the ball. And he's coached for 10 different teams over the last, I'm trying to do math here, 21 years, I would think. I think that's what the stats would say. And he's worked in a lot of different organizations. He's coached a lot of different teams, a lot of different guys. He's had a bunch of different positions within all of those. So I think he's a good person to speak on this particular issue, because he also had some time at Iowa State on the offensive coaching staff there and recruiting coordinator. He had the pleasure of working with Brock Purdy, among other solid college quarterbacks. And he was recently on Adam Brenneman's show, which is called Next Up with Adam Brenneman. I believe that's what it's called. There he is on the right over there. And he had some interesting things to say about Brock Purdy, which I want to get into here, and I'll link this in the show notes, and remind me if I don't, because sometimes I say that and then I forget and then I feel like a dummy. But here's the question Adam Brenneman asked him. What do all of the best quarterbacks you've worked with have in common? What are the traits of all of these different quarterbacks? Come on now, it's freezing on me. Maybe it's going to work. They weren't just good players, they were culture changers, culture setters. They had the ability not to just set a standard, but to hold the standard. The really special elite players, and Brock is in this mix just to be overtly clear, were also really special elite leaders, because they were able to hold other people to that standard. I'm going to eat right, sleep right, go to class, etc., but they could also hold their teammates accountable to that. That's what separates great or even elite players from culture changers. And before you click off this video, I want to say this is going to come full circle later with one of his current members of his coaching staff, so don't go anywhere. He said specifically related to Brock Purdy is not the most exuberant, outgoing player ever. He just happened to work harder than everybody else, and he demanded that other people work as hard as him. And when it wasn't right, he held everybody accountable, including the coaches. That's what makes him special, and that's what makes him different. Wow. I love that. I'm not going to hate on that whatsoever. That is all positive from my view, and I'm excited to tell you that there's more to that story. Let's go ahead and take a look at a recent article that just popped up. Oh, I think I already pulled it up for you. I forgot to switch screens. So there you go. You're already good to go on that front. So here's this first part of the article and the last part of the article kind of tie in. So for all that Brock Purdy has accomplished on the field for the 49ers, current quarterbacks coach Brian Griese wants to see the 24-year-old take on more of a leadership role in his third NFL season. Interesting perspective coming from what his prior coach, old coach, had just said. Griese already has seen signs of that happening and is anxious to see how it plays out during the upcoming 2024 season. I know it's no small feat to be the face of the franchise and the leader of an organization, Grease said Wednesday during a break in OTAs. That takes time to get the confidence and be comfortable in that position and understand all the little things that you do during the course of the day, a week or a month, that blend into that. Brock is growing in that area. That's really cool. Purdy is, of course, the first quarterback in NFL history to guide his team to his conference championship game in each of his first 2 seasons. And also, of course, he passed for a single-season franchise record and career-high 4,280 yards with 31 touchdowns while garnering a 113 average passer rating last year. That's good, but it gets even better. Later on in the article, I'm going to skip over this stuff here. Here's what Brandon Staley had to say, who's an interesting character, very interesting character, but love his perspective here. He has that way about him that just lifts the team, Staley said. He's a gym rat, and he can affect the whole team, not just by how he plays. It's how he prepares and his work ethic. Does that sound familiar to you? How coachable he is. I'm excited to team up with him. Grease likes what he has seen from Purdy so far and expects more to come. Understanding his role, understanding the mental aspect of it, understanding how close we were last year, and that there's an edge and sense of urgency in understanding your role and helping to use that to get better as a team collectively. I've seen growth in all those areas. 49ers faithful, if you're not hyped about this kind of information coming out about our star quarterback, which I think, to be honest with you, I think most of you, from what I'm reading in the comments, would say that you already felt this way. You didn't need this to be told this, but man, you don't need them to say this to feel better about it. But man, it helps when guys who have real coaching experience, decades of coaching experience, are saying this rather than just me as a fan kind of giving my perspective. So I'm really up on that, really positive on it. Also wanted to point out something else that Grease said during that press conference, and some perspective there for you that I think is also kind of nice. But that was really the full circle thing, and Brandon Staley kind of bringing it full circle in terms of leadership, work ethic, getting in there, setting the example, making sure everybody's doing it with him. Love that. That's the kind of culture you need to have new guys coming in all the time over the course of a decade and a half, if we could get that much out of him. And that's has me super hyped about him as our star quarterback, and we'll make sure we pay him. Some other interesting things, though. I think we can continue to get better at progressions, footwork, how we manage games, and situational awareness. These are things that all quarterbacks have to continue to get better at. It's a confidence thing. When you first come here, it's a lot. You're swimming mentally, and it's hard to be assertive and demonstrative as a leader, and be a leader when you're thinking a whole lot about your job. Definitely, I've seen Brock grow in those areas, and he needs to continue to. This figures to be a pivotal season for Purdy. He dealt with health issues each of the past 2 seasons, but has been mostly healthy this time around, which will be a huge benefit by the time training camp rolls around. Grease specifically mentioned Purdy's timing and footwork as areas where the quarterback has improved. He was unable to focus much on those issues of previous off seasons because he wasn't doing anything during the off season except rehabbing. Being healthy is definitely going to be a benefit to Brock the whole off season. It's hard to work on your timing and footwork and timing as a quarterback if you're not throwing the ball. Boy, oh boy, I'm feeling optimistic as always. I'm feeling like this is the kind of news you need when people are starting to freak out and say, this is it. This is our last dance. This is our shot to get that Super Bowl. And it's like, hold on now. Let's look at, I know we don't have a ton of guys on the younger side. We need more young players, and we have some draftees that we're hoping are going to be solid, but we have the guy that matters. We have the quarterback. We have the guy that has the right mentality, the right leadership, and he's bringing the culture, and he's stepping into it. It was fun to hear guys like Nick Bosa talk about it. There's several guys talking about how that leadership role has kind of shifted, how he's become more vocal. And so if you're not like me and you don't listen to all of the press conferences because you can't get enough of it, then I'll be the one to help you make sure you don't miss those things. Make sure you're subscribed because we're going to be talking about this all the way into the season and through the season and on to the Super Bowl. Let's go. Faithful, what a time to be alive.